Title: The Stand of Walter Freeman. The courtroom was a battleground, and at its center stood Walter Freeman, a 62-year-old veteran whose presence commanded respect. His fingers traced a Purple Heart pinned to his chest, a symbol of sacrifice earned in the heat of battle. "Remove it or face contempt," Judge Richard Barrett barked, his voice echoing through the hushed room. Walter met the judge's gaze, unwavering. "I died for this medal long before you donned that robe," he whispered, igniting a spark that would soon ignite a national movement. Walter Freeman had never sought to be a symbol of resistance. On that crisp autumn morning, he had simply answered a jury summons, despite the pain in his leg, a reminder of his service in Desert Storm. He had considered requesting an exemption due to his health, but the soldier in him could not abandon his duty. He meticulously donned his dress blues, arranging his medals with care, each one telling a story of sacrifice, not just his own, but of comrades who had fought alongside him. As he entered the Birmingham County Courthouse, the marble floors echoed under his polished shoes. The atmosphere shifted as he took his seat in the jury assembly room. Walter observed the selection process, noting the disproportionate scrutiny faced by black candidates. His heart sank as he recognized the familiar patterns of injustice, reminiscent of his own son's experiences years earlier. When called for questioning, Walter answered truthfully, his military precision shining through. "I have sworn to uphold justice for all Americans, regardless of their background," he stated, earning a nod of approval from both legal teams. Selected as one of only 2 black jurors, Walter felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. During a recess, Walter overheard Judge Barrett's dismissive remarks about the jurors. "These people need to learn their place," he had said, revealing a mindset steeped in prejudice. Walter's grip tightened on his cane, the words igniting a fire within him. He had faced discrimination throughout his military career, but this was different. This was a direct challenge to his dignity. As the trial progressed, Walter's presence in the courtroom became a point of contention. Judge Barrett's irritation grew, particularly towards the Purple Heart that adorned Walter's chest. When Walter spoke about the weight of responsibility in determining another's fate, Barrett interrupted, asserting his authority. "We're not in the military now," he snapped. Walter nodded respectfully, but the judge's disdain was palpable. That night, Walter returned to his modest home, surrounded by photographs that chronicled his life, a life dedicated to service, family, and justice. The pain in his leg throbbed as he prepared for bed, but he refused to succumb to stronger medication, valuing clarity of mind over comfort. He hung his uniform carefully, the Purple Heart a constant reminder of the sacrifices made. The following morning, Walter donned his uniform once more, determined to honor his service. As he arrived at the courthouse, he was summoned to Judge Barrett's chambers. The judge demanded he remove his medals, claiming they could unduly influence the jury. Walter stood tall, his voice steady. "These medals represent my service to this country. I cannot dishonor that sacrifice." Barrett's response was dismissive, revealing his own privilege. "We all make choices, Mr. Freeman," he said, belittling Walter's sacrifices. The judge's arrogance stung, but Walter remained composed, knowing when to fight and when to strategize. That evening, Walter confided in his grandson Marcus, a law student. "It's ridiculous," Marcus said, anger evident in his voice. "You have every right to wear those medals." Walter listened, recognizing the fire in his grandson's spirit. They discussed the implications of Barrett's demands, the potential consequences for the young defendant in the shoplifting case. As the trial continued, Walter's resolve only strengthened. He visited his late wife's grave, seeking guidance. "Stand your ground, Walter Freeman," he whispered, drawing strength from her memory. The next day, he returned to the courtroom, his Purple Heart gleaming defiantly. When Judge Barrett ordered Walter to remove the medal, he stood firm. "This medal represents blood I shed for the Constitution," he declared, his voice unwavering. The courtroom fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Barrett's gavel came down, declaring Walter in contempt, but the moment had ignited something within the spectators. As Walter left the courtroom, a wave of support surged from the audience. People stood in solidarity, defying Barrett's authority. Walter walked out with his head held high, a symbol of dignity in the face of oppression. News of the confrontation spread, and Walter became a beacon of hope for many. Angela Chun, a local reporter, began investigating Judge Barrett's history, uncovering a pattern of discrimination and abuse of power. Her articles gained traction, and soon, Walter's story resonated far beyond Birmingham. As public support grew, Walter faced increasing pressure. His pension was delayed, and whispers of retaliation echoed through his community. Yet, he remained steadfast, refusing to back down. "This isn't just about me," he told Marcus. "It's about respect for sacrifice." The tide began to turn when veterans across the country rallied behind Walter. They sent their own medals in solidarity, creating a movement that transcended individual experiences. The media spotlight intensified, and Walter's quiet dignity became a rallying cry for justice. As the investigation into Judge Barrett's conduct unfolded, the judge's power began to wane. The public outcry forced him to confront the consequences of his actions. Walter's testimony before the Congressional Committee on Judicial Oversight became a pivotal moment, shedding light on systemic discrimination within the judicial system. In the end, Walter Freeman's stand was not just a personal victory. It became a catalyst for change. The Freeman Respect Act was signed into law, ensuring that veterans could wear their medals with pride in any federal building. Walter's legacy extended beyond his own story, inspiring countless others to stand up for justice and dignity. As he stood in the East Room of the White House, surrounded by fellow veterans, Walter reflected on the journey. "We did something important," he said, his voice steady. "Our grandchildren will grow up in a slightly more just world because of it." The battle for dignity and respect had been won, but the fight for justice continued, fueled by the quiet courage of one man who refused to be moved. As the investigation into Judge Barrett's conduct unfolded, the judge's power began to wane. The public outcry forced him to confront the consequences of his actions. Walter's testimony before the Congressional Committee on Judicial Oversight became a pivotal moment, shedding light on systemic discrimination within the judicial system. In the end, Walter Freeman's stand was not just a personal victory. It became a catalyst for change. The Freeman Respect Act was signed into law, ensuring that veterans could wear their medals with pride in any federal building. Walter's legacy extended beyond his own story, inspiring countless others to stand up for justice and dignity.